No Caller ID, the first Nikke event. Releasing November 10th, 2022, the event follows the commander and the counter squad as they investigate a strange signal being transmitted from up on the surface. Corresponding with the release of Helm, leader of Elysian's naval squad, Aegis, even though she has no bearing on the event's story. This being Nikke's first official event in the game, it sets the precedent of what we've come to expect from the game now. No Caller ID as well as Overzone were the first two events added to the archive system when it was implemented, and can be replayed and enjoyed by anyone. Rewards include a lobby background. After dozens of reports from concerned citizens about receiving a mysterious transmission that sounds like screaming and crying for help, the central government steps in to take control of the situation and investigate. After determining its origin is from a city up on the surface, Anderson summons the commander, ordering him and the counter squad to set out and investigate, searching for potential survivors or any answers as to what it might be. Upon receiving orders, the counter squad sets out. While the journey is young, they wonder amongst themselves who it could be, as they make their way to the source of the signal. As no humans were reported being left up on the surface, the possibility that there are survivors out there sets the potential stakes even higher for the mission. As night falls over the land, they decide to make camp and rest for the night under the stars as Rappy keeps watch. The commander, not used to camping, stirs from his sleep and looks for Rappy. Before calling out her name, she hushes him and points to several blue lights in the darkness. Something is watching them. Not just one, but multiple dangerous entities capable of taking down a Nikke. As the commander's eyes adjust to the darkness, it is a family of tigers watching them from a distance. After both parties observe each other for a time, the tigers, who have seen enough, end up leaving. And when morning comes, Anise and Neon throw a fit for not being woken up to behold nature's beauty. They continue their journey until they reach the abandoned city where the signal grows stronger. Upon investigating further, they discover battle damage and bullet casings from human guns, signs of human conflict, but not a body in sight. The place had been mostly untouched by raptures, but yet no one remained. Upon entering a nearby building, there was a strong odor. Along the walls were pictures of families, a window into the past before the rapture invasion. While Anise, Neon, and the commander rested, Rappy finds a barricaded room and forces entry. After entering alone, what she finds are rotting human remains. Ushering the commander out of the building, they continue deeper into the empty city. The signal's strength reaches its peak near the center where a giant amusement park stands proud, and all suddenly becomes clear. The signal was an advertisement for the park's facilities, attracting guests to partake, a signal that had been transmitting for who knows how long. After marveling at how a place could still stand and have power, they spot a Ferris wheel. The commander turns on the power and, not wanting to miss the opportunity, climbs aboard alone for the ride. Rising high into the sky, he can see the beautiful horizon and the landscape that is most assuredly bereft of humans. After returning to the Ark and reporting back to Anderson, the commander is congratulated with a pat on the back, and after confessing to riding the Ferris wheel, he is promptly kicked out of his office. For being the first event in the game, it is a very good event. A lot of events are judged by what are the contents, what are the units that come out with it, what is the story impact. But this event has a different type of impact, a different type of importance that we don't really get to appreciate until much, much later. When the first event came out, we did not have any prior experience to events. We did not know what they would bring to the game. But now that we have all this time and this experience and such great events to look back on, especially with the introduction of the archive system, that we can go and take a look back at these great ones like Overzone, and they're rerunning a bunch right now. It's an opportunity for us to look back at the history of the game itself. Not just the lore of the game, but the history of the game itself, external. Breaking that fourth wall. This is an event that started it all. Without this event, we wouldn't have had ACPU Freeze, Kill the Lord, Overzone. We wouldn't have had any of these great events. Most games out there, I'm not gonna call them games out, they introduce a new game mode, a new feature, and then they abandon it rather quickly. And yes, there are some neglected features in Nikke, but still a relatively young game. And the fact that this is a feature of the game, events is a feature, and it is one of the first ways that the developers were able to reach out and communicate with us as players. The event, No Color ID, is a non-traditional event in that it doesn't have major lore impact, but it doesn't necessarily push down what we know about the game so far. Because keep in mind, back when you are a new player, back at the very beginning, imagine the game just came out. It just came out. You're a day one player, you know nothing about it. We're looking at this game through the perspective of the commander and how he views the universe and how he views the characters and the people within and how the characters view him. You know, we see that through other stuff, but how the commander views the universe. So if we are a new player, a new commander, and we're viewing this universe, we don't know anything about the Raptures. We don't know anything about the Nikkes. We don't know anything about the big three, the central government, the history of the game. We know nothing. We know nothing about the surface. And this event allows us to look into that and to see, from the commander's perspective, the surface. Now, what we know is we are this is the first event of us going to the surface because of the first event, but being able to see that it is not a dangerous place. It is still dangerous, there are still raptures, but when we think of the surface as a new commander, we think, oh, you know, what is it? What is out there? Is it just a desolation and destruction everywhere? But there is a lot of relatively untouched stuff. We see that there is a city that still has buildings standing, that was relatively untouched by the raptures, that there was an entire Ferris wheel, entire circus going on, that still had power, still ran, still worked. That there was nature, there was tigers, and that not that there was a tiger, but there was a family of tigers. There was like 4 of them, a mom, a dad, and 2 little babes. Nature is thriving out there. Civilization, though dead, still remains as it was on the surface. And that is what's so beautiful about this event, is it's so simple, so simple. But as a new commander, think back, way back when. Put yourself in the mind of a new commander. That this was the first event that you have ever experienced, and it was the one that allowed you to see, from the commander's view, the surface in a different light. I gave you a step out there to see, oh, hey man, look, this is beautiful. Just like how the commander rose to the very top of that Ferris wheel, all by himself because the Nikkes are too heavy, but he could see the beautiful sunset, sunrise, or whatever it was, and how beautiful that was. There is still a world out there worth saving. Human history is up for the taking once again. That is why this event is so beautiful. So, for those of you who have stayed this far, please consider subscribing and maybe suggest down below another event you would like me to cover. I love covering these events, and thanks for watching. Gununga Gap out.